The foundation of their power was never rooted in your anger or your arguments. It was built upon the quiet, unshakable predictability of your presence. They weren't just attached to you, they were addicted to the rhythm you provided, a rhythm they conducted. In the quiet thread of their own mind, they had meticulously built a version of you. A character who followed a script they knew by heart. This character always forgave after a suitable period of tension. Always replied to the late-night "hey" that tested the waters. Always ultimately stuck around no matter how they behaved. This wasn't a relationship of equals. It was a dynamic of certainty, and their certainty was the source of their control. They knew which levers to pull, which buttons to press, because the response was a foregone conclusion. Your heart was an open book, and they had memorized the ending. The moment you choose silence, therefore, is not merely a change in communication. It is a cataclysm that shatters their entire worldview. This choice is most powerful when it is not a manipulative tactic, a weaponized silent treatment designed to punish, but a genuine act of self-preservation. It is the quiet closing of a door inside yourself, a decision that your peace is no longer negotiable. You do not announce this departure with a dramatic exit line. You simply stop. You stop feeding the narrative they have written for you. The texts that once flowed with reassurance or frustration dry up. The reactions to their provocations or their curated online life vanish. The explanations they feel entitled to are absent. This void is where their control evaporates. The initial reaction is rarely one of loss, but one of profound confusion. It feels like a glitch in their reality. They check their phone, not out of longing, but out of a disorienting sense that the rules of the game have been broken without their consent. The character they had written, the one who always returns, has suddenly stepped off the page and disappeared. The driving force behind their growing unease is not the fear of losing you, but the terror of losing their own script, their own predictability. They are left standing on a stage, delivering lines to an empty house. The silence is deafening because it is the sound of their illusion crumbling. They thought they held the remote control to your emotions, but you have simply walked away from the television. The connection isn't broken. The signal is gone, and with it, the comforting noise that assured them of their importance. The most disarming force is not a counter-argument, but a non-participant. By refusing to play the game, you reveal that it was only a game to them, and in doing so, you reclaim the one thing they never thought you would: your own narrative. The departure is not announced with a slammed door or a final dramatic text message. It is a quiet subtraction, a gradual fading of your presence from the ecosystem of their daily life. Yet this absence is not a vacuum. It is a palpable force. They feel the shift long before their pride allows them to acknowledge it. It registers not as an emotional blow, but first as a series of sensory disruptions. Small silences where there was once predictable noise. The phone, that constant conduit to your attention, lies dormant. The screen that would often light up with your name after a calculated post or a vague tweet remains dark. There is a hollow space in the rhythm of their day. The morning they expect a meme. The evening, they anticipate a reply to their baiting story. The late night, they are prepared for a heartbroken or angry message. The expectation is a phantom limb, and its itch is a constant low-grade irritation. Publicly, the performance must go on. They will post louder, crafting images of unbothered freedom and vibrant social activity. They might even engage in louder provocations, designed to pierce the silence and force a reaction, an e-reaction. Because even anger is a form of engagement. It is a proof of life, a reassurance that they still occupy real estate in your mind. Their pride is a fortress, and admitting that your silence has caused a ripple would be to show vulnerability. So they pretend, crafting a narrative of indifference for an audience they hope includes you, all while secretly checking their notifications with a frantic energy that betrays. Their calm exterior, but the true power of your stillness is felt in the private, unguarded moments. This is when their mind, no longer distracted by the performance, becomes the stage for a gathering storm. Your refusal to provide the expected emotional response, be it rage, sorrow, or pleading, creates a cognitive dissonance that their brain struggles to resolve. They were prepared for a fight. They were armed for a drama. Instead, they are met with a profound and unsettling quiet. This silence is a mirror, and into it rush all the questions they have been desperately avoiding. The storm begins with a whisper. Why aren't they reacting? This simple question unravels into more terrifying ones. Did I go too far? Did I misjudge their strength? What if they are truly done? You have, without saying a single word, turned the spotlight inward on them. The energy they expected to expend in defending themselves or dismissing your anger is now left with nowhere to go, and it reverberates back into their own psyche. The conflict is no longer an external battle between the two of you. It has become an internal civil war within them. Your silence is not a wall. It is a vast, empty chamber where their own thoughts echo back at them, amplified and distorted. The chaos they sought to create in you now blooms within their own mind. They are left alone in the eye of a hurricane of their own making, realizing too late that the loudest scream, the most powerful rebuttal, is the dignified, devastating act of not replying at all. You have not given them a war to win. You have given them a void to contemplate, and in that void, they are forced to confront the one person they were trying to avoid, themselves. The initial phase of your silence is often misinterpreted as a victory for them. In the sudden quiet, a sense of relief blooms, perhaps even euphoria. They mistake your retreat for their triumph. The narrative they tell themselves is one of liberation. They have shed a weight, and the world feels lighter. There is a smug certainty that this is just another cycle, a temporary pause before the inevitable return. They are convinced that the door has been left ajar, that the connection is merely on hold, and that the gravitational pull of the past will eventually draw you back into their orbit. This is the period where their ego is most fortified, insulated by the belief that they hold the ultimate power of choice, that you are an option they can shelf and retrieve at will, but silence, when sustained, undergoes a subtle alchemy. It ceases to be a passive absence and transforms into an active, relentless force. Time, which they assumed was a neutral bystander, becomes your most powerful ally. Each sunrise that passes without a word from you is a silent, cumulative message. It is not a message of anger or pain, but one of simple, unassailable fact. Life is moving forward without them. The door they thought was half open begins to feel heavier. Every day you do not respond, every milestone you do not acknowledge, is like a gentle but firm push against that door. The latch, once loose, begins to settle into its frame. The faint sliver of light they could once see from the other side narrows, then disappears. This is when the initial relief curdles into a dawning realization. The silence is no longer a peaceful interlude. It has weight and texture. It becomes a presence in the room with them. The freedom they felt begins to feel like isolation. The questions that were once whispers in the storm of their mind now become persistent, unavoidable echoes in the quiet. What if they don't come back? What if this is permanent? The assumptions they've built their confidence upon start to show cracks. They may even test the waters, sending a casual, low-risk message designed to provoke a response and reassure them that the threat is still intact. But when your silence remains unbroken, the true gravity of the situation sinks in. Time is ruthless because it is irreversible. It doesn't just pass. It accumulates evidence against their fantasy. It proves your capability to live without them. The silence they thought they could ignore, they believed was a temporary strategy on your part, becomes the only narrative. It tells a story of increasing distance, of a life being rebuilt on new foundations where they have no footing. The lock on the door they left open finally clicks shut, not because you slammed it, but because time itself has turned the key. The person they thought they could always return to is no longer there waiting. They are left standing outside, realizing too late that the opportunity they took for granted was not a standing invitation, but a limited time offer that is now quietly and without malice expired. The transition is subtle but absolute, a fundamental shift in your very essence that they sense even from a distance. It is the critical difference between being merely gone and becoming truly unreachable. To be gone is a physical state. It means your profile picture is static, your status is offline, your texts no longer appear in their inbox. But in this state, you remain a ghost in their machine. They can still send a message into the void, clinging to the hope that it might be received. They can meticulously dissect your social media stories, searching for a hidden message, a sign of pain. A crack in your facade that signals your continued emotional entanglement. Being gone is an absence that still holds space. It is a room you have left, but where your scent still lingers on the pillows, suggesting you might return. To become unreachable, however, is an energetic and spiritual departure. It signifies that you have not just left the room. You have dismantled it and built a new structure elsewhere, on sturdier ground. The levers they once pulled to elicit a response, be it guilt, jealousy, or nostalgia, now connect to nothing. They can press them all they want, but the machinery is gone. This is not an act of blocking or banning, which is itself a form of reactive, forceful energy. This is a quiet internal evolution where you have simply revoked their emotional access pass. Your energy, your attention, your mental real estate, the very currencies they traded in, are no longer on the market for them. You have healed to a point where their attempts to provoke a reaction are met not with internal turmoil, but with genuine, unforced indifference. They have become irrelevant. This is the moment your transformation becomes undeniable. And it is this transformation that delivers the most profound gut punch. They will watch, almost compulsively, as your life begins to glow from a place of authentic peace. They will scroll past a picture of you smiling, not for the camera, but as if you've remembered a private joke with yourself. They will see evidence of you working on your body, your mind, your career, not as a performative display of winning the breakup, but as a natural consequence of having redirected all that once diffused energy back into your own core. Your peace becomes your power. The life they see is not a desperate rebellion against their memory. It is a graceful outgrowing of the space they once occupied, and that is what is truly terrifying for them. The realization is not that you are gone, but that you have become someone new. The person they knew, the one who loved them, who was vulnerable to them, who would always leave a light on, no longer exists. You have evolved into someone they don't know, and more importantly, someone who knows them all too well. Even if they were to muster the courage to try and return, they are faced with an impossible truth. They don't know who you are anymore. And the person you have become is immune to their old tricks. There is no coming back from this realization. It lands not as a moment of anger, but as a quiet, chilling despair. They weren't just replaced by another person. They were made obsolete by your own growth. You are no longer a chapter they can reread. You are a book they have been permanently closed from. And the story is continuing beautifully without their name on a single page. The final, and perhaps most enduring, transformation is not of your circumstances, but of your legacy within their life. You cease to be a memory tinged with the bittersweet ache of what if, and become something far more formidable, a lesson, and not a lesson delivered with a pointed finger or a raised voice, but one inscribed upon their consciousness through the stark, elegant simplicity of your absence. This is the lesson they were never prepared to learn, the curriculum of consequence that their ego had always managed to avoid. Your silence, your unwavering peace, becomes the teacher they never wanted, but will now be forced to heed in the immediate aftermath. They will attempt to escape this classroom. They will distract themselves with new faces, louder environments, and grander performances of happiness. They will try to replace you, seeking in others the validation and predictability they once extracted from you. They will tell themselves, and anyone who will listen, that you didn't matter, that your departure was a blessing in disguise. But this never works. It is a frantic dance on the edge of a void. And the silence you left behind has a gravitational pull that eventually tugs at their soul. The new people feel hollow. The laughter rings false, because every interaction is unconsciously measured against the ghost of what they hadn't lost. The replacement never fits, because the shape of the hole you left was uniquely yours. The lesson crystallizes not in a dramatic moment of confrontation, but in the quiet, mundane instances of their new reality. It hits them when they hear a song you loved and there is no one to text, It surfaces when they face a genuine hardship and realize the one person who would have shown up unconditionally is the one person they pushed away. It dawns on them in the weary quiet of a late night, when the distractions fade and the truth remains, they lost something real. Not a dramatic, chaotic love, but a steady, profound one. They lost the person who offered a foundation of loyalty, and they traded it for the fleeting thrill of control. You become the consequence. Not a punishment you actively administer, but a natural, inevitable outcome of their own choices. They will feel this consequence every time they encounter someone who is emotionally unavailable, who plays games, or who fails to meet the standard of depth and authenticity that you, in your quiet way, embodied. They will find themselves in situations where they crave the very loyalty they took for granted, and the absence of it will be a constant, aching reminder. Your silence taught them the value of your presence, a value they only comprehend through its lack. And so, your absence becomes the most powerful part of your story. You did not win by arguing your worth. You demonstrated it by refusing to have it debated. You did not seek to hurt them. You prioritized your own healing, and in doing so, you gave them the one thing they needed most: a mirror. In the reflection, they are forced to see not a villain, but the architect of their own emptiness. No one ever forgets the person who walked away not with a scream of rage, but with the quiet dignity of pure self-respect. You became the chapter in their life that they can never rewrite, the benchmark against which all other connections will be measured, and the quiet, unanswerable question that will haunt them long after you have evolved into a person who no longer needs an answer.